Honourable Barbara Edmonds, question 4.
Whakataite lava, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Finance, does she stand by her statement, quote, "So yes, there are global headwinds, but actually New Zealand's pretty well positioned to navigate our way forward," unquote, and what is the expected effect of the United States tariffs on the New Zealand economy?
The Honourable Nicola Willis.
Mr Speaker, yes, I do stand by that statement, which I note was made before the United States outlined its new tariff regime. New Zealand's economy is recovering from an earlier period of high inflation and high interest rates. The past week's global developments will make our recovery harder. There will be direct and indirect impacts on our economy, such as exporters being affected by tariffs that make it harder for them to sell into the US market. The most significant impact will be through disruptions to the global economy, potentially seen in slower growth in the Asian region, trade diversion effects and impacts on supply chains.
Supplementary. How can New Zealand exporters trust her stay the course plan in relation to US tariffs when the government's position is that it could have been worse and that they have not corrected the assumption that New Zealand imposes a 20% tariff on US goods based on our GST rate?
Well, Mr Speaker, I can assure the member that our diplomats are in fact engaging with the US administration to make clear our position that that is not our effective tariff rate. I would also, Mr Speaker, say that we are humble enough to know that there are some global events which we can't control. Our focus is on that which we can control, and the member can also be assured that we will continue to fight for our exporters, both in terms of their access to the US market, but also through increasing their access to other markets by continuing to pursue trade agreements throughout the world, building on the work of successive governments.
Supplementary. Does she stand by her assurance in February of this year that New Zealand will not be directly affected by tariffs? If so, how can the New Zealand public trust her judgment today?
Well, Mr Speaker, as is sometimes the case with that member, I would have to check that paraphrasing of my comment in the context in which it was made to assure that she is actually accurately representing my statements.
Supplementary. Does she regret cancelling and delaying housing, hospital and school builds, which has caused the collapse of the construction sector and the deepest recession seen in 30 years?
Mr Speaker, to make a few facts clear, the New Zealand government delivered more classrooms in the past year than were delivered by the previous government in the year prior to that. We have continued to commit significant funds to health infrastructure, and Kāinga Ora have continued to add to the stock of social housing, continuing a build program which is adding to the number of social housing places in New Zealand.
The Honourable Minister Peters.
As a matter of education, if the economy is going at 0.7 or annualised at 2.8, how could you possibly describe that as being a recession?
Mr Speaker, the Deputy Prime Minister makes a good point, which is that on our watch we have seen inflation return to the target band, interest rate reductions occur, and we have seen in the last 3 months of the last year a return to growth above that which was forecast by consensus economists.
Supplementary.
Yeah, Honourable Barbara Edmonds.
Is the government going to use US tariffs and worsening global economic conditions as an excuse to hide their economic mismanagement, given there will be deeper cuts to the public services that Kiwis rely on, record migration out of New Zealand and a collapsing construction industry?
No, Mr Speaker, we don't do excuses. We take responsibility for the actions we can control.